This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, my name is Novo Manna, and welcome to another session of the Technology Review Council. Today, we are very pleased to have Optify. We have Pam Kurlitz and Lisa Banks, who are going to be presenting to us. I had a chance to both speak with the two of them, extremely entertaining ladies. They've got some very interesting perspectives around the world of coaching and such, and we're going to see some very cool stuff. As always, we will ask questions, we'll give feedback, and I think be very entertained. So, Lisa, Pam, you guys are on.
Great. Well, it's great to be here. And Lisa, are you, you're hearing us, is that right? Okay, we might have
I'm
lost
hearing
Lisa.
you fine. Why don't you introduce yourself and then I'll do my
part. Okay, very good. So I'm Pam Krulitz, and thank you, Nav, for inviting us here today. We really appreciate it, and to all of you for joining us. And I guess there was a big setup that we will be entertaining. We'll have to make sure we put on our entertaining hats today, but we're just very excited to be able to show you what we have, what we're doing at Optify, what we've come up with at Optify and are now offering to the world. Just a little background on me. I started my career in IT and technology consulting and spent about 15 years in that space before I moved into the leadership coaching world in 2004. And so I've been coaching for the last 15 years, and over the last couple of years had a real strong feeling that I wanted to find a way to bring coaching, one-on-one leadership coaching that I saw so impactfully help organizations and leaders in organizations lead more effectively, move their organizations in the directions that they were headed, and but normally reserved for those senior people in organizations because of the cost, because of the scalability of it. And so really wanted to find a way to scale it and bring that one-on-one coaching experience to more people down and across organizations. So that's what Optify is all about. And so we do two things. We do the coaching programs. We've developed and rolled out numerous coaching programs for organizations. And now we also have technology that we've used to support our coaching programs that we're making available as a leadership coaching management system. And that's what we'll be showing you today. So thank you. Lisa?
So Pam, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Pam, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm watching you, Pam. If you give me the thumbs down, that'll let me know that you cannot hear me. But hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Banks. I'm having a little technical difficulty today, apparently. I am one of the co-founders at Optify with Pam and our other partner, Chris Carpenter. And my background is pretty diverse. I have been a corporate attorney, an entrepreneur, a nonprofit leader, and now a leadership coach. And all of that diversity has really brought me to this work that we're doing at Optify with a conviction that today's complex business environment really requires that companies develop their leaders in a more systematic and scaled manner in order to grow and thrive. And we're so excited because we think that Optify does just that. So today we're going to give you a quick look into the problem we're trying to solve and the methodology and the technology that we've come up with to answer this call. And Pam will demo our leadership coaching management system, and we will take questions as we go along, although I do not see the chat box, so I'm not sure who can see the questions as they arise. Maybe you do, Pam.
And this will be my job too, Lisa. I'll watch the chats very carefully.
Super, thank you. Because I'm not able to see them. But if you'll feed us the questions, we'll field them as they come. So to set context, I know that many of you are maybe steeped in leadership development or familiar in your organizations are working in some capacity. But just to recap, when we're talking about leadership development, we're talking about helping leaders in a company to create the outcomes that matter most. And when we're talking about helping them to develop, we're acknowledging what the research shows, and that is that effective leadership is not innate. It's developed through a combination of things. And we believe that those things are a combination of skill development, which we call horizontal development, and personal development, which is vertical development, which requires reflection, self-awareness, seeing the inner beliefs that are getting in one's way, and then consistent practice around those things. So unfortunately, as it plays out in organizations, these two elements of leadership development get separated. Skill development is usually offered to mid-level leaders, and it's delivered in the form of one-size-fits-all training. But we know that training doesn't stick. In fact, the research shows that 70% of what we learn in a training class is forgotten in 6 days. And then the personal development piece, that vertical development piece, is reserved for executives and is most effectively delivered through one-on-one coaching, which we all know is transformational. However, it's not offered widely across the company because it's seen as too high cost or too high touch to deliver at scale. So even though 90% of executives talk about the need to strengthen and re-engineer and improve organizational leadership as an important priority, it's not being done at scale until now. So we've combined both of those things in an accessible and scalable format. So our coaching methodology combines the transformative power of one-on-one coaching with bursts of personally curated training to help each leader where they are to get the skills that they need to lead well in the context of their organization. And our technology allows us to get beyond the roadblocks of the scale and the accessibility piece by creating customized programs that we can deliver at scale through our technology at a cost that makes leadership development accessible to all leaders. So what we really appreciate about our solution is that it creates structure for scaled growth. Organizations get to determine what problem they're trying to solve, and they set the tone for the shifts they want to see and the change they want to make, the goals they want to set, and we customize programs around that. And then the leaders, when they have their one-on-one coach, they get to look at the organization's goals in the business context and decide what are the specific goals they need to develop, what are the levers they want to pull to get there. So our three offers, which Pam is going to show you our technology, is one, we have this technology that helps you scale your programs. Two, we have a large one-on-one leadership development coaching program that uses our coaches and our technology. And then we also have blended leadership development programs that we can put together for companies. So Pam, I'm going to turn it over to you to start the demo, and Nav, you'll feed us questions as they go along.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a very quick question to kind of set a premise, and you'll find, as the crowd knows, I've always got something to ask. So knowing that with COVID, the work at home from home, which as far as I'm concerned was remote working, really we kept a very traditional manager to employee type of relationship. So leadership training, like you said, really didn't go down in the organization. We find myself, trying to lead my people when I can't even see them, let alone interact with them. That's one problem, and I suspect that you've at least planned for that or started to accommodate that. But what we're hearing a lot of the thinking in the companies these days is the hub and spoke model. They're suggesting that maybe I don't go to a headquarters any longer. I'm at a localized but nonetheless regionalized office. I'm going to be there with other people from my company potentially, or other companies, but people from my company, but not my department. And it sounds like maybe a leader in one of those spokes might be needed. Is that something you can and would adopt, or is that something that you're toying with as time goes on? Our leadership is changing vastly. It's no longer this, I run this unit and that's what my leadership is all about. It's I'm representing the company no matter where I go and what I'm doing and who I'm talking to. And that to me is a pretty strong earmark of a change in the leadership program. So those are two of my questions. You can wait to answer them later if you'd like, Pam, within the context of the demo.
There's a
Yeah,
lot
no,
there.
I think I'll jump in because those are great questions, and I'll answer it sort of in two different levels. One is, from the beginning, we had always envisioned that part of scaling coaching was making it available to people through video conferencing. So 2 years ago, we basically set up our whole technology approach to use video conferencing for all of our coaching engagements. And I actually just saw a statistic that over the last 5 years, coaching has moved from like 24% being delivered virtually to 48%. And that was actually pre-COVID. So I'm sure it's even greater than that now. So we were already really well positioned and set up to do virtual delivery of coaching and working with clients through video technology. And secondly, yes, what has changed for leaders, it's really dramatic what leaders are being called to do now. With remote work, not being able to see the people that they're working with, not being able to, pop into someone's cube and check on the status of something. There are a lot of things that have changed about leadership. A lot of leaders are moving toward more results-only leadership. You can't count on people being able to work during the normal business hours because they may have kids who are homeschooling in the next room and need them, and they're going to work more at night. So there just has to be a lot more flexibility. And so I think leaders are recognizing that and trying to figure out, how do you now lead in a way where you're focused on results and not necessarily on how people get there. It's a shift that we've always wanted leaders to make, but I think it's even more pronounced now in the time of COVID. Yeah, as you say, the geographical location isn't necessarily as relevant as the work that needs to get done. And so it's really focusing a lot on the work, it's focusing on the people, but not necessarily being able to manage day to day like they're used to. One of the things about coaching is that we've always highlighted is that it's very, very personalized. So the one-on-one coaching is a relationship between the coach and the client or the leader, and the coach is meeting that person where they are. So if they have a team that is struggling because of remote work, then that's where the coach can go with the client. If they're struggling because they have this huge deadline and it's requiring them to pull in new parts of the organization that they've never worked with before, and now they're having to collaborate in ways that they haven't before, that's what we focus on. If they've struggled with their confidence and so they're not presenting effectively, and that may happen in person and it may be exacerbated by a virtual environment, that's where they will focus. And so there's a real personalized approach to the one-on-one coaching that can accommodate whatever it is in that leader's world that's creating either an opportunity or a challenge at the time. And we find that those kind of stress situations are ones that can be an impetus for that vertical development that Lisa talked about, that real growth as a leader. When you start, you run up against the wall, that's when you have to say, oh boy, I have to think about doing things differently. And that's where a coach can be really, really helpful.
Pam, I'd love to just jump in and add one thing to that. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'd love to add that, especially in this remote work environment where we don't have mentors on site and folks that you can pop into their rooms, the imperative is there for every leader to have a thinking partner and someone to learn and grow with. And that's why we love this model of scaled coaching for everyone across the entire organization for all your mid-level leaders, so they have the support that they need that they may not be getting in this new remote environment that we're coming to. So I just wanted to say that the one-on-one coach, that trusted partner of thinking and growth, is going to really supplant a lot of what was happening in this informal mentoring in organizations.
Very good. Does anyone have questions before we dive in? Because I know we kind of shared a lot right at the beginning there, but.
Yeah, nothing yet, but we're getting there.
Okay. And you can put it in chat, or if it's a small enough group that if you just want to unmute and pop in that way, you can too. Okay.
Yep.
Good. So I will share my screen. So let's see. There we go. Can everyone see?
Yep.
Yep.
We
Yes.
can.
Okay. All right. So as Lisa said, one of the backbones of our ability to scale coaching is that we developed a custom software solution. And I guess this was kind of part of my vision from all of my earlier days in the IT world, that I always had this vision of what a coaching management system might look like. And so we've partnered with some terrific technology partners to develop this. And we have 3 different views into the system, or 3 different primary user groups for the system. The first are the program managers, who might be in your learning and development organization, who are typically designing and rolling out programs for leaders. The second is the clients who are being coached. They have their own view and experience in the system. And then thirdly, the coaches have their own view and experience into the system. And so I'm going to show you all 3 views so you can see what it would be like as a program manager to create programs, what it would be like as a coachee or a client to experience this and interact with the coach, and then what it's like for the coaches. So I'm going to start on the program management side because that's really the beginning of the process. So we work with organizations to help them discern, what does a program look like that's going to move the needle in the way that they want. So for example, we have one client that was at 700 million in revenue. They're private equity owned. They're 700 million in revenue. They want to go to $1 billion. Not just want, but that's their imperative at this point, is to get to $1 billion in revenue. And they recognized that if they were going to do that, they really needed to up-level their leadership capacity throughout the organization. The senior execs had already gotten coaching, but mid-level people hadn't. And so the senior execs saw the power of that one-on-one coaching experience and getting feedback through a 360 assessment. And they wanted to make that available to really key high potential leaders across the organization. So we worked with them, and the HR folks basically presented to the business unit leaders how this coaching could work for them. The business unit leaders all identified folks in their business units that they were interested in developing and really investing in, and made them part of the program. So we have, the first year we did a pilot with about 5 people, and this year we've rolled it out to about 35 people. So that's how they're using our coaching services. And at the same time, we have other organizations that have full management development programs with cohort-based learning, assessments, and one-on-one coaching combined into a programmatic development effort for them. And then we have another client where we did 360s, and then they just wanted a few little coaching sessions, not little, but a few coaching sessions after to pull through what they learned from the 360. And that's how we've structured that. So we have the ability to create programs that really meet whatever business goals, talent management strategies you have. So I'm just showing you an example of how we set these up in a very customized way. So we might just have an overview for the program. In this overview, it seems simple, but it's something that is available to all the coaches and all the clients who are working in the program. So in this case, we may have 20 people who are going through this leadership development program at the same time. You may have a handful of coaches, or you may have 20 coaches, coaching all of those folks. And so we can make sure everybody's getting on the same page with what the program is all about. And then we can set up a meeting template. So what is the engagement going to be throughout this whole process? And in this case, we may have 12 meetings over a period of 6 months. That's a pretty standard coaching engagement for us, where the coach and the client get to know each other. They may do an assessment debrief. We have a couple of assessment partners, the Leadership Circle and Insights Discovery specifically, that we do a lot with. But we can also incorporate assessments that they're specific to other organizations. So some of our clients use DISC very extensively, or they may use an internal 360 that they've spent a lot of time developing. We can incorporate those into the program, or we can actually do the assessment and debrief ourselves. And then the coach and client would set goals. And that's a really important part of the program, where everyone's getting on the same page about what is it that this person's going to be focused on. In some cases, we may have a manager alignment meeting that comes after goal setting, where the coach and the client meet with the manager to say, here's what I'm going to focus on. Does this sound right? Are we on the right path? Does the manager agree with the development goals that are being addressed? And then they may go through a personalized, series of personalized coaching meetings before they get to the end. And that's where the magic happens. Honestly, it looks like, kind of the middle part, but that's where the real magic of coaching is going on, in those one-on-one conversations, where the coach is helping the person address real life challenges using new ways of thinking and being. They encourage self-reflection. They provide specific, unique learning opportunities. All that's happening in these one-on-one coaching sessions. And then at the end, they assess their progress toward their goals, and then they wrap up, and we have some capabilities to evaluate the success of the engagement as well. So that's the structure of the engagements. We can also, as part of a program, we can assign specific assignments. So if everyone's doing an assessment like Insights Discovery, we can give everyone an assignment to follow these instructions, and that's going to get you, through the process of taking Insights Discovery, and that can be really helpful. Just again, it streamlines all of the communication that so often happens in these very complex programs with a lot of people and a lot of moving parts. We set up all the clients who are going to be in the program. We set up the coaches who are going to be available. At Optify, we have about 35 coaches right now, and growing all the time. All of the coaches have experience in organizations with leadership development, in learning and development. And so we go through a process then to pair the coaches with the clients. We like to give clients an opportunity to choose from among a few different coaches. So they are sort of bought in from the beginning to who they're working with. And then some organizations who are using the software just like to assign coaches. They don't want to give choices for lots of different reasons, and that can be accommodated as well. So that's how we set up the programs. Any thoughts, questions before I keep plowing ahead?
So let's see.
I got a question.
Oh yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, this is Bruce Nove. So then your organization provides the coaches. Am I understanding that correctly?
We can do it either way. So we do have, like I said, 35 coaches, and we started out by doing these large-scale coaching programs ourselves. The other alternative is, if you have a lot of internal coaching programs going on right now, we are now also making the software available to be licensed and branded as your own, so that you can manage and administer your own programs using the software without our coaches.
Okay. And do you use a particular coaching model as you do the coaching initiatives? I mean, is there something that you kind of standardize on, or is it depend on what the kind of the expertise and background of specific coaches are?
It's, I would say it's a combination of both. One thing is that we do a lot, and actually Lisa is our coach recruiter, and we do a lot of vetting of our coaches before they join us to make sure that they have the same sort of mentality and approach around coaching that we do. And that means setting goals at the beginning of the engagement, making sure that there's impact to the individual and the organization, making sure that they understand the context that the clients are working in organizations. So there's a lot that we do to make sure that we get the coaches on board. I've been on the faculty of the Georgetown Leadership Coaching Program, and so we tend to get a lot of folks through that program, but not exclusively. And so we know they have a similar philosophy and approach to coaching.
Okay.
And
so then you're not actually training the coaches. You're finding coaches either internally or externally that are going to be able to deliver coaching services. Am I thinking about that correctly?
That's right. Yep. So when we're when we're delivering a program, we're using the coaches that we've brought on and vetted. And if you're just using our software, then you would be using your own coaches that you've brought on, vetted, are internal to your organization, or even external coaches that you're using.
Yeah.
So is that coaching force that you have? Am I right in thinking they're probably third parties who you can contract and expand as you need? Is that, or are they employees?
Yes. Yeah. I will say they're third parties, and I will also say that most of them have been with us for a couple of years now. We do a lot to create coach community. We do a lot of continuing education for the coaches. We've gotten to know them really, really well.
That's great.
So they're not just kind of random people that we've, that are out there on our bench that we don't.
Yeah, no. And I would just add to that, Pam, if you all can hear me, along the lines of the coaches, we have, because of our reputation as an organization that's creating a coach community and actually furthering the professional development of our coaches, we have a wait list of probably 100 coaches who'd love to work with us if when we're getting more business. So we are expanding and contracting as we need, and we're just planning on growing. But we have a lot of capacity, and this system really supports that capacity.
Great. Well, thank you. That answers my questions.
Very good.
So this is Nova. Just a very quick question. Are you equipped, or certainly on your roadmap, to be a global company? In other words, multicultural, multilingual?
Yeah, and in fact, we have probably 20 to 25% of our coaches right now are multilingual. And as we continue to expand, we've had some demand from global organizations. This was primarily before COVID hit, but we have had some interest from global organizations that are looking to do global programs. So we're right now, all of our coaches are based in the US, but we have, again, part of our backlog of coaches who are interested in working with us are folks from different geographies as well.
Very cool.
And the other thing I'll say is that it's been really important to us to recruit a diverse coaching cadre. So that's something that I'm very mindful of as I'm recruiting coaches. I'm wanting 40% of every group that we bring in to be diverse in every sense of the word. But one thing that is kind of across the board is that all of the coaches have a coaching certification through the ICF. They're all tech savvy, so they can work well with our technology, and they understand business context, because what we're really bringing to organizations is the ability to coach within their context to help them get where they need to be. And so I think that that's an important distinction, that our coaches really have either been executives and been in organizations in the corporate world, or they've done learning and development within those settings. So they understand the business context and how important that is to mesh with a client's personal goals.
So I'm going to ask a very dumb question because I've not gone through this process with you. Is industry knowledge necessarily a prerequisite to be a coach in a particular organization? And the reason I ask that is because, and maybe it's not even an industry, it's like an IT, a coach for an IT manager or something of that nature versus a sales manager or something?
Yeah, it's a great question. Pam, I'll just give a short one and you can add on, but it's such a great question, Nav, and we do get that all the time. And we are not coaching for technical expertise. We are coaching for leadership development, which is really helping leaders grow and think in new and more sophisticated ways as they work within their organization. So whereas industry knowledge can be useful, I'm an attorney, and often people, might select me as a coach because I'm an attorney. We don't have to have it, and yet, some clients, oh, I want someone like me who understands my world. And
Right.
Pam, you can add on to that.
Yeah, I think and that's part of the reason we offer 3 different coaches to each client. And I'll show you in just a second how we go through that matching process. But we do like to offer a coach that does have a similar experience, whether that's they're a finance person and they're looking for somebody who understands the world of finance. It's not necessary, but we do find that clients very often look for that. And so we try to match up 3 people that have a little bit of, like, everyone has a little bit of what the client might gravitate toward in terms of expertise that they bring or contextual knowledge that they bring. In fact, I was just got some feedback from a coach, and one of the clients said, I just really appreciated that she had experience in the same industry. It was an association. And so we will hear that sometimes. So we like to offer coaches that have sort of a similar background. And then sometimes it's actually really helpful for a client to get someone that's in a very disparate environment that can be very objective about what they're seeing with the client. So it can go both ways.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, but you'll see here lots of different ways, lots of different purposes that we have set up programs. Sometimes we'll do an IT leadership development program for just focused on technology people who are now trying to learn leadership, or finance team development, or maybe it's a director level program. So lots of different ways to create those programs. The other thing that the program managers can do, so as they set up the programs, then they get to administer the programs. And we have dashboards. So if any of you are in learning and development or know of learning and development folks, this is always a big question mark. A lot of times coaching is a big black box where you set up the program and then you're kind of not sure what's going on unless you go ping people to ask all the time. So through our technology, we can have a dashboard to see what's happening in the program. So for example, in this Lauren Wiley program, we can see that I am Lauren's coach, and the program manager could see that we had a one-on-one meeting on June 25th, and then we had another one-on-one meeting on July 6th, and another one on July 21st, and then we have our next meeting scheduled for September 23rd. So the program manager can get a glimpse into how the program is moving along. So if you've got 20 people going through a program, I'll show you the coach interface that helps them do this, because the coach is marking meetings complete along the way, and that helps the program manager understand where these engagements are. And you can kind of approach people if somebody's falling a little bit behind, or they haven't done an assessment debrief that they should have done by now. You can check in to see how it's going, but it can be more of an exception basis. So that's the program manager. And the other thing that is available for each program, we can produce reports that have very similar information. It has a status, not what's happening in the meetings, but because that's all confidential, but they can see when the meetings were held and how far along people are. And we can produce Excel spreadsheets with all that data as well.
Pam, I wonder if you want to show for those who might be interested in the licensing piece of this, if they were going to put their own program managers in, to show the settings and how you can brand and change things. That might be.
this was so fun when we came up with this. So as you're seeing the system, it's all branded for Optify. But as we've been making it available to other coaching providers, whether that's internal coaching programs, other coaching providers like ourselves who are offering coaching services, we wanted to make sure that everyone could brand it on their own. And so we can set the colors here. This is one of my favorites. This gets kind of wacky sometimes, but we can just update the theme and it'll update all of the colors on the screen. So you can basically brand it. You can put in your own logo, and so you can make it look like internal. You know, it's your own branded system. So it's white labeling basically. It's all powered by Optify, but that's available for providers. And so then the client experience. So once a coach and client are matched, or not even before the matching part, but once a client is entered into a program, they get an email saying, "Welcome to your coaching program." They come in and see this "Welcome to Optify" screen. They can answer a questionnaire, and this is what we use to help us match them with coaches. So we get to know their role, their strengths, their challenges, what they really want to get out of coaching. That's a lot of what we use to be able to match coaches, in addition to their industry, their functional experience. If they want to work on their leadership presence, we have coaches who are great at that, and we will gravitate toward those folks. And then just anything else they'd like us to know in selecting a coach. We've had people say, "I'd love to have a woman who has young children or was working while she had young children at home," or "I just really love somebody from my industry." They put a lot of great information in here. That's what we use to match them with a coach. And then they can set up their profile and their initial assignments, and then they can go in and see the 3 coaches that we've chosen once we've gotten their questionnaire and we've selected coaches for them. They can come in and see the bio of each of the coaches. So each one has, just enough information that they can, sometimes a lot of them will just come in and look at it and say, "Gosh, this coach looks like the one for me." I can tell from their bio. I always joke when we get to Jean's bio, I had one client who looked at her list of credentials and said, "Oh my word, she has the longest list. I don't know what any of them mean, but she looks really smart, so maybe I should pick her." So it's always interesting to see what the clients base their decisions on. It's fascinating to me. In fact, I always love to ask them after the fact, like, what was it about the coach that really intrigued you? And you hear lots of interesting things. But the other thing that they can do is they can schedule a call with the coach to get to know them. And so we've integrated all of this with scheduling software that's going out real time to the coach's calendar. And so they can just schedule a meeting directly through the software to meet with a coach. And that same capability is available for all of the meetings throughout the program. They can use that scheduling system. It's one of the things that is sometimes hard in a coaching engagement. It's, again, a lot of moving parts and a lot of scheduling back and forth often happens. So that streamlines that whole process. So after they select their coach, then they can go into their program and they can see all of the meetings that are going to be held. Over here where you see 60 minutes, once they've selected their coach, that turns into a button that says schedule, and that's how they schedule their meetings. It's not available right now because they don't have a coach, and so we don't know whose calendar to look at to schedule that meeting. But once they've selected their coach, that becomes available. And yeah, so this is a program that has a lot of group work interspersed with one-on-one coaching meetings, the way this one was designed. And so that's how they can keep track of, the coach and the client keep track of what's going on in the program. They can set goals here, and they can create goals. We ask them to enter their what the goal is, what actions they want to take, how they know they're successful, and the impact that they want to have when they are successful. And then at the end of the engagement, we loop back to see if they've been successful in meeting that goal. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, we'll hear, yes, I made good progress and I still have a little ways to go, because a lot of times if they've set their goals correctly, they're stretch goals. They, leadership and leadership development is an ongoing journey, but our statistics are really good in terms of progress made. We also have statistics that show that 94% of our coaches or clients would recommend their coach again. And so we're getting a lot of great feedback on what we're doing and the impact that it's having. The coach or the client can also see assignments. So when the coach and the client see something that may be an area for development, we have an entire library of resources, and I'll show you that library, but an entire library of resources that the coach has access to and can assign to the client. So some of these are publicly available, curated resources. Some of them are things that we've developed on our own. And they cover everything from, managing mental fatigue, or David Rock's SCARF model and how to use that to make sure that when you're providing feedback, people don't get defensive, or it could be around some of the assessments, the leadership circle assessment, diversity, inclusion, onboarding to a new position, lots and lots of resources that we've found we've used as coaches over the years, and now we've made available to coaches throughout the whole Optify network. We have over 150 of them now that are available.
Yeah, Pam, I just wanted to jump in and say that all of the resources are really those bursts of learning which take the place of the formal training that organizations have been giving in the one-size-fits-all category. And so what the coach and the client are working on, what the coach hears, then drives the learning that is available for the client. And so you really get that just-in-time learning for what the leader's business context is and what they're needing in the moment. As Pam said, if they need to work on their presence, there's tons of resources so they can do micro learning and bursts of learning around that that's really effective.
Yeah. And we've tried to keep them short too, so they're not overly cumbersome, because as we know, nobody has any time for anything. So if we can keep it to 20 minutes and they can it's very targeted, we find that that's the best way to do it.
So this is no very quick question, Pam or Lisa, so if I have material that I want to be brought to this, I can do that in my own library, or is that shared and vetted through you to then put it out in the resource library?
No, that's a great question. So when we have other coaching providers using the system, we have a shared resource library, all 150 of them that you're seeing right now. And then you can also create your own little corner of the resource library just for the coaches in your organization. So if you have a coaching agreement, or you have your own competencies and resources that you use very often with your folks in your organization, you can actually create these resources for yourself, and then all of the coaches who are coaching under you are able to access them.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then a couple of very, very quick questions, if you will, more system oriented, but so what I'm seeing these days in the performance management is the elements of what you're doing here in the coaching is part of the personal development that people want. Here are my goals for the unit, but I want personal development, career growth, etc. Are you tying in or planning on tying into any more either prevalent performance systems or data coming from a performance to fill out, let's say, goals on a personal basis in your system, or the other way around?
We haven't done that yet, and yes, we recognize that could be a need down the road. One of the things that we find is that goal setting is really kind of an interesting topic. We find that if you set people off to create development goals, they actually really flounder in doing it on their own. And some people have managers who can help them, sort of work through that whole process. But we've really found that when they have a coach sitting down with them, it's almost like evoking those goals from them by understanding what their challenges are, understanding their team construct, understanding what their high priority deliverables or projects are for this year, and what is it really going to take for them to be successful in meeting the objectives of the organization. So we do find that, yes, we envision down the road integrating with performance management, and I also think that there's a lot to be said for not just taking the goals out of that system and treating them as the goals that they're going to work on with their coach, but using them as one input to the coaching relationship to massage them and really drill in a little bit more on what it looks like and what it might mean.
Well, and to your statement about the people floundering, it's very much possible that you would be the source for the personal goals. Yes. Go back into my performance management system rather than the other way around.
Yes, exactly.
Clarity.
Yes.
Yeah. Another question: what a lot of people would, in my world, if you will, this HR technology space, would like to see is the confluence or aggregation of all these kind of things into one presentation. So, I gather you can export some of the reporting that you were showing in terms of progress and things of that nature out of the system to, let's say, an analytics system or something like that.
Yeah, we're exporting CS. Well, okay, so I'll say two things. Right now, what we're doing is we are exporting CSV files, and it's mainly program status that we're exporting. So we have a big project underway right now to develop a lot more surveying and analytic capabilities throughout the engagements. So, for example, checking in, doing a little pulse check after the first couple of meetings to make sure that things are on track. Doing midpoint surveys and then end of coaching surveys that really get into those questions of what did you learn, what impact is it having, what could be the ROI of this engagement. So we have those surveys developed, and right now we put them out there as resources so they can take them offline. But we are going to be, at least a priority for us right now, is finding ways to embed some of those survey and pulse check and data analytics capabilities or data gathering capabilities into the system, and then, like you say, being able to export them for analytics capabilities. Yeah.
And I would add, Pam, that we're that we're partnering with Qualtrics to help us build out this survey capability, and we recognize that showing that return on the investment is really important, not only for organizations and the sponsors of these programs, but also for the leaders, to really see, am I making progress? Was this a valuable use of my time? So that's very much top of mind for us.
Right. Yeah. And knowing that this is relatively new, is there let's say a top of mind use case that you could relate to us as an audience and just tell us a little bit of what you went into and what you got, or not what you got out of it, but if you will, what the leadership group got out of that process, something that maybe has an ROI associated with it.
Yeah, we have a number of clients that we've been working with for almost 2 years now who started out as pilots with us. So I think the one that I mentioned earlier is a great example that we started out with 5 people in a pilot program, and they sort of anecdotally reported back all of the great benefits that they found from working with their coach. It was a couple people in IT, a couple people in their HR organization. And then they decided to roll it out more broadly. So we have 35 people this year who are on tap to be coached, and some started in the first quarter, some are starting in the second quarter, some are starting in the third quarter, and some will start in the fourth quarter. In that case, they were really looking at their high potential leaders, and we focus on sort of that mid-level of the organization, and what they were experiencing was the mid-level leaders, like at a director level, they get all the direction, all the guidance from the top of the organization, and then they have a lot of pressure from their teams, and they're typically growing in responsibility. So they've got maybe 40 people, they've got managers reporting to them now rather than just a team reporting to them. So things are starting to get a little complex for them in terms of their leadership and how they need to navigate across the organization in new ways. And so we find that level is a real sweet spot for what we're doing. And so this organization went out and identified those people that they felt like were in that sandwich situation where they had a lot coming down on them, and who were really critical to the future of the organization. And they very strategically said, if we can invest in these people, we believe we're going to have a lot better chance of hitting our growth targets. And so that was a great one. We have another client that basically said, we've got 230 directors, and we're going to give coaches to every single one of them. I mean, it's an interesting strategy because some of them engage more than others when you're rolling it out, that broadly to an organization. But they basically just said, we know we're asking a lot of these people, and we feel like it's an investment that is going to be worthwhile to help them grow. And they did it. They rolled it out across the whole organization.
Sounds great. I just want to do a very quick time check. We had about 5 more minutes. I wasn't sure, Pam, where we were in the demo, and I apologize for asking such lengthy questions myself.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the dialogue. It's great. No, I just wanted to show one more little piece, and that is the coach view of the system. So we've seen the program manager, project manager view, and we've seen the client view. And now when you come in to the system as a coach, you get to see all of your engagements, all of your clients that you're coaching over here. And then again, same overview that the client can see and the program manager. You see the same meeting set up here. You can, the coach can then schedule meetings. They can mark meetings complete, or they can mark, if somebody no-shows, they can mark the status of the meeting. Here's where they can see the goals as well that they've set up with their client. They can make assignments to the client here. And then we love this. They can see the whole history of the engagement. So when a coach and client are working together over a period of about 6 months, it can be really interesting and sometimes challenging to remember exactly what it was that we talked about at the beginning and what were some of those assignments that happened. So we keep all of the history of the engagement here so they can both reflect on what it is that's happened and what is the progress that they've made and what were some of those aha moments that they had along the way. It's really nice just to be able to see that, sort of all in one place. And then the coach and client can message each other when they have just quick little notes to jot back and forth. And then the coach can also make a note to themselves, because they will very often, I know as a coach, I would get off the phone or get off of a call with someone and I would think, oh, okay, now I need to make sure I follow up on this because I heard something and I didn't ask about it because it wasn't the right time, but I want to make sure I follow up next time. And so they can make notes to themselves as well. So we find that with this system, it makes the coaches a lot more productive. They can actually handle more clients than they would be able to handle if they weren't using the system. It keeps them organized, it keeps them on track. In fact, a number of our coaches are now using this for their other clients that they're coaching outside of Optify. And they found it so beneficial within Optify, they've wanted to expand that, and we've made it available to them.
Pam,
So you just answered my last question there, and that was, is this platform available for just coaches? In other words, as a platform for them to organize themselves, and you just answered that. So are you looking to sell the platform out that way, or people could subscribe to it and use it as a tool for themselves?
Do you want to answer that one, Lisa?
Well, it's a great question, and we're really we're testing the market. Right now, as I said, as Pam said, we're piloting with some of our own coaches, our internal Optify coaches, to use it in their own practices, and we're seeing what is really called for in the market. Our sense was that we would be licensing this for larger coaching shops with their own, coach umbrellas where they're really doing scaled programs, and also to organizations who may have their own internal coaching engagements, but they cannot manage the size of programs that they're rolling out. So I think that we're in a look and see phase right now, but what we definitely see is that there's a value proposition for each of those potential licensees.
Got it. Folks out there, any questions, feedback for Lisa and Pam? They are being respectfully quiet today.
I want to know if I could, I would
Sure.
just say if you would like any more information, you can go right to our website, which is optifycoaching.com, and you can request a further demo in there, a conversation, and see a little bit more about what we're up to, and we'd certainly love to answer questions about the technology. We can always schedule meetings for that. And Pam, anything else you want to share?
There was a comment that just came through that said, love the simplicity along with the attention to details.
I'm glad you saw that. Yes, I was going to mention that. No,
yes, it's so interesting. When we designed it, we came up with our brand attributes, and one was clear and simple. And so I really appreciate when we get the feedback that it's clear and simple. It just speaks to us and what we've been trying to do here. So yeah.
Great. Well, I want to
trouble with my mute button, so then I started typing. But yeah, no, I noticed that, just when the coach is going in to look at, all of their different engagements, their schedules, it's very organized in a very simple manner. I felt like my brain could really connect to it and follow along and easily figure it out. I'm looking at this and thinking, I don't think anyone would need training to figure it out.
Right.
So,
yeah.
That's a good sign of a good system these days.
Yeah. Yes, I very much appreciate that.
Terrific. Well, I'm going to allow the folks to head on to their next. I keep forgetting that we're maybe working from home, but we're all busy. So again, I appreciate everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, Pam and Lisa. If you don't mind staying for just a few minutes, and I will turn off our recording here.
Great. Thank you so much.
This conference will now be recorded.
Oops.